Mr. Transformers 96 here with another haul video. This time it's my haul from the Frank & Sons collectible show. So this is actually an event or store that I had never heard of before, and I was able to go to just recently, and this is my haul from there. I want to go over my thoughts on the store itself, or the event, whatever you want to call it itself, plus just talking about some of my finds from it. The whole start of it, because this is a location in California, I went on a little vacation this weekend with my wife. I just really wanted to get out and do a little vacation. Typically we go to Disneyland for our vacations, and because we're big theme park people, but obviously with everything closed, not an option. So we had to get a little creative this trip and kind of look into other things that we can do and have fun. And she actually heard about this place through a coworker who recommended it, and we went there. What I was expecting is that there's a store in the state that I live in, which is kind of a bigger store that has smaller vendors within it that do collectible stuff. But there's kind of like maybe six or seven mini stores within a big store, and they're all individually run little collectible stations basically. So I was expecting that, but it was actually way bigger than I expected. Essentially the place is basically like the size of a Costco. It's a massive building, which they had a line wrapping out the outside, which you have to wait in to go in, and when you get in there, it's basically Comic-Con. At least my state's Comic-Con, Phoenix Comic-Con, it's very much like it. It's set up the same way, where you have the rows of vendors, and there was just a ton. And what's even cooler than the Comic-Con that I'm used to going to is, although there are less stalls or like less little vendor shops than Comic-Con, and not less by that much, but the big difference is 90% of these sold things that I were interested in. Like they sold collectibles. While at Comic-Con you have a lot that do collectibles, but then also a lot that do artwork and some clothing and things like that. There wasn't much other than collectibles here, which is really cool. So this was an awesome place. I would totally recommend it for anybody to look up. It's in the City of Industry in California, Frank & Sons collectible show, and it's basically Comic-Con, but with basically just the focus on collectibles. You're not going to see too many people in costume or anything like that, but when it comes to collectible shopping, which is my favorite part about Comic-Con, it is even better in my opinion. So anyway, what did I get? Because they had a ton of stuff. I wanted a ton of stuff. The one thing I kind of had my mind set in, hoping that I would find for a decent price there, is the item in the back. It's that Colossus and Juggernaut 2-pack. I've been really eyeing that over the last few weeks, and so like a couple weeks ago, I found it on OfferUp. Somebody selling an in-package one for just $50. They were selling it really cheap, but unfortunately, even though I contacted them very soon, they had already sold it to somebody else. So because of that, I've had it in my mindset that I didn't want to spend much over $50. Going into this collectible show, though, I was just kind of like really just wanting to get it finally, and I was willing to spend a little bit more towards the retail price of it. I got it for $65, which I was pretty happy with. I did get the Doomsday Pop from from Dawn of Justice, Batman v Superman. I have a DC villain collection, movie villain collection, and Doomsday is one that I've never been able to acquire. And they had it there very cheap in package, of course, for $10. I definitely picked it up. Steppenwolf is the only one that I still need to get, and I do plan to get him soon because of that. My two really exciting purchases, though, are in the middle here. Abomination Build-A-Figure from the most recent, kind of Gameverse line, as well as an original Ronin Build-A-Figure. I have wanted that Ronin Build-A-Figure for years, especially when Guardians came out, and I was really into Ronin, being obviously as his cinematic debut. I wanted that Build-A-Figure so much, but he went up in price substantially in 2014 when that movie came out. Since then, I've always wanted it. By coincidence, I actually bid on it like a week before this trip, and I missed out and didn't get it on eBay. So I was very pleased to actually get in at this convention. I got it at a booth that had a bunch of Marvel Legends. They had a case of out-of-package ones too, and they had both of these in the case. They had Abomination for $65 and Ronin for $60, which are good prices on their own. They actually were good prices, but I actually haggled it down a bit and I got them both for 110. So basically I paid 55 per figure, and they both go for about 80 on eBay, complete. So I was extremely pleased about that. The Abomination's one that I didn't want really any of the figures in the wave except for the leader, but I really wanted the Build-A-Figure because it just looks so good. So I'm very happy to get him. And then again, Ronin is a Build-A-Figure that I've wanted for years, so it's very satisfying to be able to get Ronin. And then I did also get a Disney pin, which I have on display right now, so I don't have it here. But the other thing that I got is this custom scroll head sculpt. I actually think it's a really cool sculpt. It looks pretty awesome. Very nice indeed. A little more intense than the scroll sculpt for the most recent Build-A-Figure. Now, once I got it back to the hotel, I noticed that he doesn't have the sculpted ball joint in there. So as you can see, it's just kind of a hole in there. So I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do at this point. I'm not sure if they're supposed to have a ball joint in there either. I have the contact information for the person who did this custom, so I think I'll send him an email. As you can see, this is kind of how it will look. I can kind of, I've never had to sculpt a ball joint before. I'm not 100% sure how I do it, but nonetheless, it looks awesome. Like, once I get it painted, it's going to look super sweet. But it was a really cheap price. It was just $10, so I definitely wanted to pick it. So here's just a shot I took at the convention of a bunch of the head sculpts that they had on display. A lot of cool ones, and Big Head Studios is the person's name. But they had a few extra ones too, like the scroll head sculpt isn't in this picture because they had a couple new ones. They had a Red Guardian sculpt which looked awesome. It had some great expression and he was actually wearing his helmet. That's probably the other one that I would get if I purchased from them again. But I'm going to reach out and see what the deal is with not having a ball joint to see if that's supposed to happen or if he has any recommendations. But nonetheless, I think that's a really cool sculpt. Overall, this convention was awesome. There was a ton of Marvel Legends, a ton of Pops. There were booths with Hot Toys, and they had one booth that had a Hot Toy. They were selling Hot Toys, and they had like all out of package in glass cabinets. They really had like every Hot Toy you could imagine. I've never seen so many Hot Toys out of package in person before, to be honest. I thought that it was super cool. They had a lot of custom stuff too, like that custom kind of bus coming into the bank from The Dark Knight. I've seen that online before. They actually had it there. It looked awesome. So there's just a ton of stuff there. As far as pricing goes, it's booth by booth. So some are overpriced, some are really reasonably priced. Like the one where I got the two Build-A-Figures from, I thought that they had a really reasonable price on their figures. I wish I actually knew their name. I'd promote them a bit, but I don't know the name of the booth that I got them at. They also had the Broad Queen, which is a Build-A-Figure that another Build-A-Figure that I want. They had it there for $100, which is under retail. I kind of regretted not getting it, to be honest. As I was heading back to my state, I kind of was like, ugh, I should have got that one within the bundle here. I'm sure I could have got it for 80 or even less. So next time I go, I'll have to get that if they still have it. But anyway, this was an awesome convention. They had a ton of cool stuff, and it was basically like at least the Comic-Con that I'm used to, the Phoenix Comic-Con. It's basically like that, but with an even more emphasis on collectibles. So I thought this was fantastic. They're open 3 days a week, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. If you're concerned about kind of the COVID-related procedures that they have stations with hand sanitizer places. Although they promote and have signs everywhere about 6 feet apart, it's not 6 feet apart, I can definitely tell you that. It's not quite as crowded as Comic-Con, but it's pretty darn close. You're very close to people. And then they do require masks. So they do take precautions, but when it comes to being in a populated area, it definitely is a populated area. But yeah, overall, awesome experience. This is going to have to be something that's a regular hit for me when I go to California from now on. It's just super cool, and it took a long time. My wife and I spent 3 hours there, and we really got tired at the end. Like the end couple of rows, we kind of went through kind of fast. You know, we didn't stop at like every place that we were stopping at the beginning. So if you know, there's enough stuff there to spend hours. It's great. So totally recommend it. And here's my haul from it. And as far as reviews go, I'll probably review the Ronin and Abomination for sure. Once I get the scroll face painted, assuming I'm proud of the paint job, I think that I'll do a video on that too. But let me know what you guys think, if you've ever been to Frank & Sons, and yeah, if you have any questions about it as well, any additional questions that I haven't answered, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll get back to you. And thanks so much for watching.